Monster Nation, Monster Nation, Monster Nation, Monster Nation, Monster Nation.
Ready to go in there, boss?
Let's go, big swag.
We the people of Monster Nation, in order to form a more perfect union, now ask if you have the attitude, if you have the ingenuity, and if you have the audacity to call yourselves Monster. And will you honor the creed of our realm, exalting in the virtues of mechanization, transformation, and invention? If so, then welcome to the nation. Come get some. On this episode of Monster Nation, we're headed to Canada to see a race called Crash to Pass. And with a name like that, you know it's gonna be cool.
People come out to see hitting, and when people don't hit, it's no fun for anybody.
Then we'll meet a remarkable young man in Indiana who doesn't have a driver's license, but he sure can drive. After that, we'll witness an underground robotic rumble. Watch what happens when we throw out the rule book and just let these pushy bots do their thing.
No rules, no regulation, no judge. You can just keep going until somebody's dead.
Then we'll head down to Honduras, where a young man has built a fantastic homemade submarine.
How do you feel about being in the sub for a record-setting depth dive?
Then we'll drop in on the Monster Nation lab, where Kelly and James are tired of Gabriel sleeping on the job. They've got a plan to wake him up with the ultimate caffeine machine. All that and more as Monster Nation preemptively strikes your mind.
We're at the Saratoga Speedway on Vancouver Island. It's Canada Day, and for these Maple Leafs, there's no better way to celebrate their independence than by smashing things.
Monster Nation, Crash to Pass.
They call it Crash to Pass, and it's sort of a cross between stock car racing and demolition derby.
We take the biggest cars and just try to make a mess of them. And it gets ugly and dangerous, and it's a lot of fun out there.
As you pass someone at any point in the track, you generally give them a little tap, or usually I'm the kind of guy that likes to spin them out.
In this race, it's not about who finishes first. It's about who earns the most points by crashing and passing. But check this out. In order to pass a car and get ahead, you've got to hit it first.
You gotta bump them, rub them, scrape their paint. People come out to see hitting, and when people don't hit, it's no fun for anybody.
Say hello to the Smash Masters. Byron Balmer.
Scooby-Doo's gonna love this ride. This isn't the Mystery Machine, this is the Misery Machine.
And Bill Condors, a.k.a. Psycho Bill.
Well, I have a few different nicknames, but the one that really stuck is Psycho Bill, and that's just for my general retarded drivingness, I guess.
It's a good one! Insane. He's a madman.
As a matter of fact, in 2001, Bill held the title of most aggressive driver in North America. All of these drivers are aggressive, and the cars are built to take it.
This is a 68 Beaumont. I did a few things to it.
He's made more than a few adjustments, most noticeably to the body. I-beams have been welded onto the doors, the hood's bolted down, and the bumper is chained into place, all to reinforce the car against the big hits.
Well, like I said, I put a full roll cage in mine, and I throw these things, we call them kickers, off the back of the cage.
and he's got a few tricks for powering this beast.
This is a small block Chev 350. I got some high output 305 heads off a pickup truck that I put on there, got them redone and put some bigger springs and stuff in them, and that gives a lot more compression. It's just a cheap way to get power. Yeah, you gotta gut them out and put your gas tank in there. We got my battery, I got it sitting on this side, right behind me there.
Psycho Bill has his own manner of modifications.
So this is just basically to knock all the sharp edges away from the tire. See, when you go around the corner and the right front loads up, it doesn't rub on the fender on the sharp edges and cut the tire. That's probably about good enough. That's to keep the heat away from the transmission and to keep most of the exhaust and the carbon monoxide from getting into the cockpit.
Psycho Bill's taken the better part of a 1974 Impala, added the door bars and the usual safety gear.
This bar here is on for a reason, that's to keep other cars out. Same with this one, and we call that a home invasion. Extra strong 3/8 straps in the front because wheels fly on the track and axles with the wheels, and you want to be safe.
But he's gone an extra step to beefing up his ride.
This is what you don't see under other guys' cars. Watch this. This extra welding in here is not really, it's semi sort of legal. And all this triangulation of the steel and all helps the front end to make the big killer hits.
Hello again, race fans and hot rodders.
In today's Crash to Pass, there are 2 10-lap heat races. These will determine the driver's starting position in tonight's main event. Don't forget, in order to pass a car, you've got to hit it.
Whoa, there he goes.
That means spin-outs and more spin-outs. Remarkably, in spite of all the crashing, there will be a final, and Byron and Psycho Bill will both be there.
Are you guys ready for some action?
Oddly, in Crash to Pass, the best starting position is in the rear. This gives the drivers more opportunities to pass and thus gain points. In tonight's final, Byron sits in the middle of the pack, while Psycho Bill is up front, effectively in last place.
Here we go! Psycho Bill O'Connor's out in front. He's got his hammer down already. He wants to win this 20-lap deal.
Psycho Bill's hopes of winning are dashed when Byron gives him a love tap and spins him out of the race.
We got a 3-car pileup in the first turn. Byron Bomber all held up.
Neither Bill nor Byron win the Crash to Pass main event. When the dust settles, Byron ends up in 6th place and Psycho Bill in 12th. The Crash to Pass is over, but for Byron and Bill, the battle wages on.
I'm gonna see you next week. This ain't over yet.
2 weeks from now.
I'll be here. I'll be here.
This thing's gonna be out on the highway. Out on the highway.
Stay tuned, cause coming right up, we'll see Gabriel, James, and Kelly attempt to build the Caffeinator. And later we'll visit with a young man whose heavy-duty ride would make a Humvee turn and run for cover. More Monster Nation coming right up.
Monster Nation. Monster Nation. Monster Nation.
Listen up, Monster fans! Our crews are crisscrossing the globe to share with you the amazing accomplishments of our monster brethren.
Monster Nation.
But we here at Monster Nation headquarters would not be worthy of our name if we didn't do some serious inventing, building, grinding, and welding of our own. And that's where these guys come in. James Peterson and Gabriel Renz are master fabricators who can make anything from just about anything. And that's exactly what we asked them to do. Nation. Together with their shopmate, Kelly Grant, fabricator femme fatale, this team will invent or monsterize one remarkable machine in one 12-hour day.
I'm creating an extraordinary machine.
These incredible builds are wearing everyone out. No one more so than Gabriel, who desperately needs his morning cup of coffee just to get his motor running. But the standard brew just ain't cutting it anymore. It's time to monsterize his Java.
I think the whole build is about Gabe and a way for him to get his 4-shot Americanos for free.
Are you asleep right now?
Mm-hmm. I am. I'm totally asleep.
The team will get their caffeine fix with some help from an old friend, Katsumi Moroi. He'll need his metal expertise today when he helps the team build the Extreme Espresso machine. Oh, and by the way, it's 9 a.m. and the clock starts now!
Monster Nation.
So we're gonna build this crazy espresso machine.
Okay. Actually, we won't be building the espresso machine at all.
Yeah. We're gonna make a mobile espresso stand, and we're gonna put this really cool machine from La Marzocca on top of it. And we're gonna use the machine to control some other cool stuff. We're gonna hook this steam whistle up to this whole system.
Okay.
And we're also gonna make this big propane cannon.
We're also gonna have this 5-gallon galvanized steel water dispenser with insulated with a vinyl interior coating.
We're making our own still.
And when your espresso is done, both of these solenoids are going to come on, and it's going to go boop, and the fire is going to shoot out the top.
Okay.
And just the steam engine's going to go.
And I think that we might have enough scrap copper that we can skin the front of this thing with copper and maybe give it a shelf in here for cups and stuff. And
that would be great.
A couple doors.
Basically, we're making a really fancy espresso cart. All right, let's go. Let's do this thing.
If all goes according to plan, the espresso machine steam will power a toy engine. The timing system will trigger the train whistle and propane cannon, and the whole machine will then be mounted onto a custom-designed coffee cart. That's nice! And of course, it will make enough espresso to satisfy Gabriel and the rest of the build team.
It's a little over the top, but you know, you gotta go over the top every once in a while to have a little fun.
We can't afford coffee in our budget. We need coffee all the time. It's a necessity.
Most people wouldn't even drink 4 shots in a whole day. But I drink 4 shots when I wake up in the morning and probably another 4 throughout the day.
Actually, I don't even drink coffee, but you know, some people need it.
Espresso is like air.
The first step in today's build is to create a cart to hold the espresso machine. Katsumi is spending the morning cutting the 1x1 steel tubing that will become the cart frame for the espresso maker.
How many more to go? Let's see, about 7 more pieces to cut. We'll be all done.
A few hours later, and the cutting is all finished, and now Katsumi can start on construction.
Right now what I'm doing is I'm welding together the top and bottom frame of the cart.
If Katsumi's welding skills look familiar, it's because he and James built this awesome Brooklyn Bridge-style table on an episode of Monster House.
Absolutely superb.
As Katsumi finishes construction of the cart frame, Kelly cuts half-inch plywood to fit inside the frame and enclose the cart.
This is the wood for the door skin, so that stuff doesn't fall out of our cabinet. Fascinating.
But somehow cutting plywood to fit isn't as easy as Kelly had anticipated.
I bet Katsumi will save the day though. Just getting copper over it, and it'll look really pretty when it's done.
With the cart construction finally complete, it's now time to cover it with copper sheeting.
So we're putting on the spray adhesive to put the copper, attach the copper to the top of our cart over there. You put it on both surfaces, let it set up for a sec, and then it glues to itself really, really well. And Mark's feet.
Make sure you don't want to just rub your butt all over it.
Oh yeah, that.
It's lunchtime and the cart is done, but the team has a long way to go. We'll check back in with them later.
I don't have an addiction to coffee. I can quit anytime.
Right now, let's head out to Indiana to meet a family who's into some serious heavy metal.
Our research team employs the latest technology, especially when tracking down stories about people obsessed with technology.
Look at that. Look what's on the side.
Our crew took off for Indianapolis to meet 3 generations of a family who drives some of the most awesome land vehicles we'd ever seen. Welcome to the Ropke Armor Museum and the home of 13-year-old tank driver Noble Ropke. At this privately owned outdoor facility near Indianapolis, Noble's grandfather, Fred Ropke, started buying up old military hardware 20 years ago.
We built up the collection actually just one piece at a time, and we have a hobby that's completely out of control.
Fred scoured the world in search of military machines of every kind.
We essentially feel that it's necessary to preserve our military heritage for future generations.
The future is already here. Fred's grandson Noble is carrying on the tradition. Look out, world. This 13-year-old is coming at you in a tank.
This machine is an M114 from Vietnam, so it can turn completely 360 in its own length.
As a young child, all that Noble needed was someone to put him behind the controls.
With Noble at age 5, I picked him up out of his little tricycle, set him down into this tank, showed him where the controls were, and off we went down the road.
Inside a tank, and the ones that we had, you could scream and not even hear yourself scream. The noise was that bad.
Basically, this has been a normal part of life for me since I've grown up. When I've ever brought a friend out here, they go, "Oh my gosh, it's a tank." And I say, "Yes, it's a tank."
Noble quickly learned the ropes.
That's the ignition, that's the starter. Steer this. The big one there is your gas, drive, second, low, and reverse.
Noble is a very mechanically able person. He has an aptitude for the way things work, and he absorbs this stuff like a sponge.
I feel that he's done so much in his 13 years. He speaks Spanish and French. He's a good water skier and a great sailor. Any tanks, you name it, he can drive. Noble can drive just about anything that moves.
Noble loves the excitement of tanks, But he's also learning the importance of these machines in the defense of his country.
Lots of people, they don't appreciate the history of these machines. They say, oh my gosh, it's a tank. Go crush something.
This is the M24 Chaffee Light Tank. Essentially, this is a track-laying vehicle. The vehicle lays the track down and the wheels drive over that laid down track.
There's a big hill here. It's a turn for a track, and we're going to drive this tank right over the hill.
This tank uses twin 1942 flathead Cadillac engines. And so you're essentially operating two engines at the same time. They're synchronized as far as their throttles go and as far as their transmissions go.
Not all tanks are tanks. Some are mobile artillery. This 55mm howitzer can deliver a powerful punch.
It's a howitzer, an artillery piece, as opposed to a tank. The main difference is a tank generally shoots like a rifle in a straight line at a target it can see, whereas this machine shoots at a target it normally can't see, that may be 2, 3, 5, even 10, 12 miles away.
While Noble drives around in these tanks like crazy, the one thing he doesn't get to do is fire them, since none of their cannons are operational. Not all the Ropke military machines are earthbound.
This is an Antonov II, largest biplane in the world. These were used for everything from training paratroops to hauling passengers. This would have been your typical feeder commuter airline in China, Mongolia.
Rick flies this old biplane at air shows.
The Ropkes purchased this airplane in Poland. This airplane has an enormous amount of wing surface, and because of that, it can fly at very low speeds and still support the weight. And this airplane will go down to 37 miles an hour.
If you take a tank or a military vehicle or a piece of armor or a weapon, and you look at it only in the context of that was made to kill somebody, then that's a short-sighted view. If you take and dig deeper, before long you find yourself thinking about the people that made it, the times that brought it about, the reasons that it was necessary to save, in this case, our country and our way of life, and the pride of being an American just starts coming out. You're giving me goosebumps right now talking about it.
Monster Nation factoid. In 1942, the Germans built the largest tank ever created. It was designed by Ferdinand Porsche under direct orders from Adolf Hitler himself. The tank weighed 188 tons, measured over 30 feet wide, and stood over 12 feet tall. Ironically, it was called the Mouse. Don't go away, because we're going to show you an underground robot fight that takes place in an undisclosed location. And later we'll take you to Honduras to meet a guy who's built and tested his own yellow submarine. We got more Monster Nation, and it's coming right up, so please stay tuned!
Monster Nation! Monster Nation!
Back at the lab, the team continues work on the Extreme Espresso Machine.
When I originally proposed this idea, everyone was like, what do you need an espresso? That's such a stupid idea. Literally, all these people were like, oh my God, we totally don't need an espresso machine on the set. And now everyone is like, oh yeah.
So far, Katsumi and Kelly have built the copper line cart. It's now time for James and Gabriel to build the accessories. Needing to supersize the machine's water tanks, James borrows the company's 5-gallon water cooler.
Are you just decorating it with that copper?
Yeah.
So, in essence, it's a bucket.
It is a bucket lined with vinyl with a screw top and a fitting out the bottom.
The vinyl is because you don't want water in a galvanized metal tub because it'll taste like crap.
She just walked away from me.
totally dissed. This gauge has no purpose whatsoever other than the fact that it looks cool, and I think it'll be a nice addition to the top of the water tank.
Man, that thing's gonna blow right off when that thing pressurizes.
I know, it's gonna be scary.
With the 5-gallon tank completed, it's now time to customize the various accessories.
When I thought about steam-operated apparatuses, old locomotives and steam engines and very turn-of-the-century kind of mechanisms came to mind. So that's kind of where the direction we're taking this, into that era and that aesthetic. We're gonna take the boiler pressure, some of the boiler pressure to run this little steam engine. So far I'm just disassembling all the extraneous stuff off this and breaking it down to just its raw boiler. This is going to have a length of this tubing after this is placed in the machine that comes out and goes into that. So this is as far as it's going to go until that machine comes back.
The next step is one of the most important aesthetic elements of the build, the propane cannon. Gabriel has designed it so that when the coffee is done, an electrical trigger will open the solenoid valve, releasing the propane, which will be lit by the pilot.
Hot damn! That's a sharp cutter. We totally need some precious juice. So we'll just keep a nice little flame running on our espresso maker whenever we're making coffee. And then when the coffee's done, it'll go like this.
Take 2.
And then when the coffee's done, yeah, let it keep blowing it out. That's so anticlimactic. I think I might need to move the pilot up a little bit.
Final.
There we go.
In addition to the propane tank and steam train, this extreme espresso machine is designed to set off this train whistle.
This is like one of the key elements to our whole gag with this coffee machine, is this badass steam whistle. These guys hand machine, like, look how fine the casting is. It's all just these 2 guys do this whole operation. Should be very, very, very loud.
What we decided to do is run it off of our air compressor, which has about a 120-gallon tank, and that's sitting right outside this wall. And I'm plumbing in this 1-inch pipe to the steam whistle to give it the kind of volume that it needs to actually make a decent sound. Because anything less just doesn't sound right. It kind of goes.
Is that?
With the whistle system now assembled, Gabriel enlists Kelly to help him test it out.
Seriously?
Yeah. Just hold it down. Coffee's up. I'm gonna put on my earplugs when I make coffee.
You got earplugs, Kelly, do it.
It's 6 o'clock, and the espresso machine's cart, steam engine, water cooler, propane cannon, and whistle are all done.
Come on, what's the holdup? Let's go eat dinner.
It's time for Din Din. Monster Nation factoid. The world's largest espresso machine was created on an episode of Discovery Channel's Big. It is 11 feet, 3 inches tall, 8 feet, 6 inches wide, holds 120 gallons of water, and can make a whopping 30-gallon cup of espresso. Don't change that channel, because when we return, we'll see the robotic equivalent to an underground rave. And later, we'll head to the Monster Nation lab to see if the team will complete their extreme espresso machine.
Monster Nation. Monster Nation.
Recently, our crew found themselves cruising the back streets of San Lorenzo, California. They were acting on a tip that some illegal street fighting was going on. After several wrong turns and a few dead ends, this clandestine gathering was finally located. Our crew was initially met with apprehension and reservation until they realized that we were Monster Nation. Hidden inside a makeshift arena, we found an underground street fight raging between warring BattleBots.
Do you have permission to be here?
No, we don't. It just looked like a good place to have a little fun. Have we been busted?
No, we got out before the sheriff's department showed up. We heard the sirens coming, so we ran for it.
The ringleader of this renegade band of robot designers, builders, and battlers is Rick Russ.
I invited some of my friends out to have a little pushybot war, see who's king of the hill in the pushybot world. What is known as a pushybot is usually a fast-moving robot that has a wedge style.
To create the arena, Rick used his own Rust bus, then called in a few favors to get some shiny new big rigs in place. When we showed up, Ray Beeling's two-wheeled terror Swampy was taking a bite out of Wipeout, the creation of Max Waxman, operated by his wife Wendy.
So it's a 60-pound lifting bot. We decided to call the robot Wipeout, and my one design feature was that we had to have the roll of toilet paper on it.
Underground street fights are the best because there's no rules, no regulations, no judges telling you when to stop fighting. You can just keep going until somebody's dead.
The world of BattleBots is for the most part a highly regulated sport. Played inside plexiglass arenas complete with judges, Christmas tree start lights, and a tap-out button to surrender. With no rules or regulations to abide by, Rick decided to toss one of his own robots into the fray. It's delivered in style on his custom-made remote-controlled bot hauler.
I like it.
What we built it for was to haul the robots from the bus up to the arena. It's pretty cute. I end up hauling a lot of kids around on it. But we also haul a lot of robots.
Among Rick's robots is this UFO-shaped machine known as a ground sweeper.
This is a robot called Moblo. This robot only likes to run on very level, flat ground, but it's hard to get under. I'm not sure how it'll run out here, but we're going to give it a try.
Ultimately, Moblo is a no-go.
Just put him in the middle, use him as a ramp.
And that's exactly what they do. Street fights don't stop until one bot is mechanically disabled or runs out of juice. The batteries in these bots last 9 to 10 minutes. Powerful motors are a must-have for any BattleBot, and with the way these owners punish their mechanized offspring, so is battle-hardened housing. Matt calls this exercise taking out the trash. He's just warming up his machine for the next Pushy Bot skirmish, a match between his Devil's Plunger and Mike Phillips's Max Wedge.
This is Devil's Plunger. It's a 120-pound fighting robot. Its main weapon is the weight of the bot ramming into other bots.
This is Max Wedge, 120-pound combat robot. Yeah, these spikes will high center people and hold them off the ground so you control them. And the name of the game in this sport is control.
In the BattleBot world, both these monsters are rated at the top of their weight class.
Nationally, our machine is ranked #1 in the United States, and this machine is ranked #2. So we compete often and have a good rivalry going.
Mike's machine has knocked the snot out of Devil's Plunger 6 out of the 7 times they've faced off in the arena. How does Mike do it?
The secret that I learned is there are no secrets. People ask me stuff, I'll tear it apart, show it to them, and if they can beat me in the arena, rock and roll, but normally they can't.
This time it's not going to be in the arena. It's going to be in the streets. Max Wedge may be top dog in the arena, but on the street, he's reduced to puppy fodder.
This is the first time he's never had any damage against me. Well, it took off the fin that was right here, sheared the bolt, busted loose the entire front hinge assembly, busted both belts in the drivetrain. Then there's also internal damage that I can hear. Yeah, I got payback.
You got some late nights to repair that thing, darn you.
You whaled me, boy. You totally whaled me. We done good this time.
Oh, that was awesome.
That was
Thank
the best.
you for letting me
whale my ass.
Wail on you.
Oh, you broke me. That was...
We go to great depths to bring you stories. Welcome to Honduras, home of Carl Stanley and his yellow submarine.
I'm Carl Stanley, and this is Monster Nation.
This guy's commute to work proves that he's a member of Monster Nation, and one in good standing. He's living out his dream, creating unique monsters of the sea.
I started researching submarines when I was 9 years old and started building my first sub when I was 15. Designed this submarine specifically for this dive site. I believe it's the only submarine specifically designed for one dive site anywhere in the world. We happen to be on the edge of the Cayman Trench, where right out there, it drops down to over a mile deep within swimming distance from shore. Ida Bell is about 12 feet long, 6 feet wide, and weighs just over 9,000 pounds. I built that sub for $150,000. The basic pressure hull of this sub is made out of 3 spheres of high-strength steel. This gives you an idea of what is going on underneath the foam here. There's the large sphere that the passengers sit in side by side and look out of this big dome window, and then I'm standing up in the rear 2 spheres. Spheres have to be used for a sub going this deep because it's the most optimum shape for resisting the pressure. This is mission control for the Ida Bell. We have our 8 windows around and 1 looking up in the hatch. These are the 2 main motor switches that I would use, and they have infinite variable speed control and forward and reverse. Going up and down is controlled completely by air, but maneuvering is completely controlled by electric motors, which are 36-volt direct current. They're actually modified trolling motors, though highly modified. I have 4, even though I only need 2 at any given time, for complete redundancy, so that any one component can fail and it wouldn't affect the dive whatsoever.
Carl moved to Roatan, Honduras after receiving encouragement from a local resort owner, and he's never looked back.
I've been living and working in Honduras about 3 years now. I like it a lot. There's people here from all over the world and also a lot less rules and regulations than in the US. Honduras actually means deep water. It was named that by Columbus because he couldn't get soundings on the shores around here. It drops down literally thousands of feet. You can swim into over a mile deep water if you were so inclined. That makes this site ideal for operating a submarine. It used to be much harder getting parts and supplies down here. Now with the internet and satellite communication, that's changed life a lot for the better.
When Carl needs to replace a failed component, he turns to his friend Tamiso.
Anytime I would need to do some maintenance on the submarine requiring machining, this is where I come.
But for Carl, this isn't just a hobby. This is how he earns his living.
For 2 people, for 2 hours, to go 1,000 feet, it's $500.
$500?
Yep. So right now I have a spot for one.
How much?
Normally it's $250 a person for a 2-hour dive. This is probably going to be more like a 3-hour dive. Okay. I'll cut you a deal for $300.
Tourists between the ages of 6 and 84 have paid to travel a quarter of a mile down and observe things that even trained divers often don't see.
How was your trip? Wonderful. Absolutely amazing. Really. Now, how do we get my wife out of here? Good job.
Carl has taken his sub out numerous times, but today he is going to attempt to take it deeper than any tourist sub has ever gone before.
How do you feel about being in the sub for a record-setting depth dive?
I don't know.
When I'm ready to submerge, I close the hatch and I put this little screw handle through there, and that will seal the entire hatch.
We're at the edge of the Caribbean's Cayman Trench that plunges to the depth of 20,000 feet. But Carl has seen all this before. His goal lies in the deeper, darker depths. An hour later, Carl has reached the depth of 2,000 feet. He set the record. But down here, the pressure against the hull is so great, it's equivalent to 4 fully loaded 18-wheelers pressing against each window. With the adventure over, we were there with Carl to break the depth record of a tourist submarine and go 2,000 feet. But it's no time to rest on his laurels. Carl still has more frontiers to conquer.
Well, I have some parts assembled for an underwater hotel that would allow one couple to spend the night at 700 to 800 feet.
No doubt future tourists will enjoy the adventures that Carl's planned. When his passengers leave, they'll always take with them fond memories.
They'll probably be back. Most people are. I'm Carl Stanley, and I'm part of Monster Nation.
Stay tuned to see if the lab team will keep this caffeine dream alive or let it run out of steam. We can't be late for this latte. Sit back down and pay attention. Monster Nation's not done with you yet.
Monster Nation. Monster Nation.
Back in the lab, it's 7:30, and the team continues working on the Extreme Espresso machine. So far, they have successfully completed the copper line coffee cart, the water tank, the toy train, the propane cannon, and the train whistle. All that's left to do is hook everything together and attach the doors to the cart. But before that happens, James explains the inner workings of an espresso machine.
It has 2 boiler system. This line is for the steam that we've tapped into to pull off our other mechanism, this guy. And then this is your water reservoir, which feeds deeper into that boiler. Put all that crap together and you get espresso. Or nothing.
It's now time to hook up the accessories.
This is how the pros
what
do
up,
it.
Cinelise?
There we go. Look at that. See, doesn't that look better?
It takes most of your might.
Yet again, replumbing this thing.
With the accessories mounted, Katsumi and Kelly work on attaching the doors to the cart.
Oh. Got a little spacing issue.
What happened? It doesn't shut.
What happened?
And Katsumi saves the day once again.
Yeah, they shut, and they open, and they shut again.
All right.
The Extreme Espresso machine is now complete. Gabriel gives us the lowdown on how it works.
What we've done is put in a T to take off steam from that side. That runs out this side and goes to this little D14 locomotive engine. This thing is on a ball valve, so we can turn that on and off whenever we want. Over here, we've got a transformer. The transformer stepping down 220 power to 110, which is what this relay runs off of. This relay is triggered by this automatic control right here, so that when it's finished making coffee, it sends this into a timing sequence, which turns on this propane cannon, and at the same time, turns on this really loud, annoying steam whistle. So both of those are going on, and your coffee's done.
Step 1, add water. Step 2, ignite the pilot light. Step 3, make the coffee. The steam engine's working? Check.
Yeah, put my earplugs in.
The coffee's brewing? Check.
Ah, no whistle.
You got enough hair out there?
It's plugged in.
Isn't it? Oh, no way. Push it. That's why.
Ah.
What's wrong, James? They didn't have the... That has to be fully depressed.
We need a rope.
All right, guys, take 2.
All right, this time it's gonna work.
Anticipation of these things kill me. Absolutely kill me.
Yeah, it was awesome how it just sucked the flame right in there. That was awesome. That was awesome.
It totally took the flame with it, though.
I know. Was it too loud for you? What?
All right, coffee's up.
Oh, really strong.
That'll wake you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll make the chickens come home. That's the tourist.
I'm definitely not a big coffee drinker, and that last cup's probably going to keep me up for about 2 days. Gabe went a little heavy on the grounds.
All right, here's to success.
And caffeine. And excessive volume and fire.
I love the whistle. I absolutely love the whistle. That whistle rocks.
I hate that whistle.
You hate the whistle?
I hate the whistle. It's awful.
Well, I think I'm going to disable the whistle while we're using the thing on a daily basis, and probably wire a remote switch to the whistle so that when other people are unwittingly walking by, we can sound it off.
That's what I call monster!